Okay, welcome back to our live broadcast. I'll just take off those headphones. A little bit of feedback, but the excitement here is palpable. It is a brilliant expression of democracy. It's one of the most extraordinary ways that a democratic system, I suppose, anywhere in the world is carried out. This may well be studied by students of politics across the world, maybe in Ireland as well, to explain how the system works. So if you're watching this on repeat, maybe in the afternoon or later on in the evening, what we've been doing since 9 o'clock, we have been following the tally. So they are the votes as they come out of the boxes, they're put on the table, they're sorted in the sense that they're unfolded and people can see number ones, twos, threes or whatever. Tally men and women have been working in pairs. One person calls out, Cullinan 1, Butler 1, as the votes go through. So you might have 100, 120, 140 votes in each box. They are then put on what's called a tally sheet. And I'm just going to get Eddie to show you a tally sheet. So we're looking here, and this lady here has a tally sheet. And that is St. Ursula's. St. Ursula's, is it? St. Ursula's Primary School. And in that, you can see the tally men and women basically mark one line for each vote. So on that, David Cullinan is cleaning up in that box. John Cummins has quite a few. Roach and Shanahan nearly the same. And Butler has a few as well. So that's happening all over the place. And here's another box that has just come out. So the counters that are working with the council and the courts, they literally open up the ballots. And as you can see, they're being opened up. And the returning officer here, Michelle, has done a very, very good job. And she has basically asked all the counters to open up the ballot papers facing the tally men and women. So it makes the tallying very easy, or a lot easier, because in other areas the ballots would be opened facing the counter. So you're kind of straining your neck and you're looking to see who's first, second, and you could miss a few. So these tallies may well give a very good indication of who's going to be coming out on top with first preferences. It's only the first preferences that are being tallied. There are a number of boxes that you will have people tallying number twos as well, but that depends on the number of tally men.
Section, I'll deal with the adjudication at 3:45 p.m. Thank you.
Box is finished. They will put up their hand, they'll wave their tally sheet up in the air, and they will do that. So let's have a look here. Hiya, how's it going? What do we have here?
This is St. Ursula's.
St. Ursula's Primary School, box number 84, and it's number 3 in St. Ursula's. And as you can see there, it's only a tally of first preferences, but David Cullinan way out in front in that box. 63, Cummins 30, Mary Roach 14, Mary Butler 11, Cleary Aintu 12, and again the others ones and twos. We're going to take a walk now, and Eddie can be filming as we go. We're going to take a walk around the count centre. As I say, you're being given exclusive access to a count centre in terms of looking at all the tallies. We're doing something that hasn't been done before. We're examining the tallies as they come out in conjunction with all the party workers, and they have been very good to us. And Eddie can focus on the people as we walk down. They've been very, very good to us. They've been giving us all the different numbers. They've been giving us all the different tally sheets, and they have been working together, which is absolutely brilliant as well. So they all work together as a team, and we have a very good team working here as well. So we're on a wide shot at the minute, and I'm going to walk down to the screen, one of these screens, and I have Kyle here in front of me. Now Kyle, we're going to look at this screen as it happens. So we'll just let Eddie get his monopod in place and we can start talking. So Dean and Keane are upstairs and they have a split screen system in place. So what are we looking at here, Kyle?
So Damien, what we're looking at here are the tally sheets, and tallies are an early indicator as to what way the vote is going. Of course, they do come with a health warning, so they are just indicators, but they give us a good idea as to how the day is going to pan out. So if you look at the top here on the left side of your screens, you can see St. John of God's National School, and that's in the city. And different tally sheets are for different boxes in different areas of Waterford City and County. So
that's box number 35, and that's a half box. So what are the figures in this box?
So what we can see here is, well, it's actually gone off our screen now, but what you could see is certain people doing very well in certain areas. Thanks very much, Dean. So we can see here John Cummins, right, is on 43, so he's doing very well in that area, followed then by Matt Shanahan,
independent 35.
Right. So for example, Damien, in the west of the county, you might see Conor McGuinness doing very well in different areas. So we can also see here then David Cullinan also on 22, tied with Mary Butler, and then also by Marco Kohasic. So
okay, so from that we can garner that a number of people are doing well in certain boxes. So the tallies, when they're put together, and all these tally sheets are being brought to another room 136 steps away where they have a combined tally. So all those figures are being fed into a computer.
That's right, and I actually have that right here. So if you have a look here on my screen, so this is the combined tally, and it's actually a great way for all the parties to come together, and all the parties come together and feed it into one big system. So if you have a look at the combined tally here,
just read them out there. Yeah, we'll get it up on the screen later, but just give us a quick analysis. I'm just going to refresh your screen here, just because it refreshes every few minutes. So in the lead at the moment, we have David Cullinan on 27.8%, followed by John Cummins, and then John Cummins on 17.8%, then Mary Butler on 15.3%, and then we also have Matt Shanahan on 9.7%. Now, let's just explain this, because again, our listeners can't see this. 26% of the boxes tallied, okay? So we're looking at a quarter of the boxes have been tallied. A quarter of the boxes, the headline figures are Cullinan, nearly 29% of first preferences. Cummins, nearly 18% of first preferences. Butler, 15% of first preferences.
And then
Shanahan, nearly 10% of first preferences. And McGuinness, for example, is only on 8% of first preferences, but the Dungarvan boxes haven't really started opening yet.
And that's the thing, so like politics and like voting really comes down to...
It's up on the screen there now, well done, Dean.
Perfect, so it really comes down to geographical areas, so all this could change, Damien. This could all change come lunchtime.
It will change a little bit, like you're going to see McGuinness getting more votes in the west.
You will, and look, that's a natural thing. A geographical area, people seem to vote for who they know nearest to them. So as you can see here on our screen, if you might go down a little bit as well, Dean, if you could scroll down for us, if that's okay, we can see the bar and pie charts here, and this really is great technology, Damien, because we didn't have this years ago.
You like the old pie chart, don't you?
Oh, I do. I love a good pie, Damien. I don't know how you did it years ago. Like years ago, it was all just the sheets, and you'd have to feed it into your own system. But we have all this here.
So 28% of the boxes have now been opened. The party share of the vote go down slightly. Sinn Fein 36%, Fine Gael 17.5%, Fianna Fáil 15%, Social Democrats 6%, Independents non-party 13%, so that includes Matt Shanahan. So Social Democrats polling at around 6% at the minute, but again, that percentage of the overall vote may go down as the vote moves west, because the Social Democrats would not be as popular in the west, and Mary Roach wouldn't be as well known.
And that's right, and it comes down to transfers as well. So transfers are a whole other part of the election as well, so where votes actually go as well. So for example, you know, a lot of Connor's votes might go to David and vice versa as well, but time will tell, Damien, certainly will.
Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
Do you love it?
Spending the whole day with you, what more could I ask for? It's brilliant.
Do you love this? We've got a great team here, and it's great to be part of it. And what we're doing here this morning, and if you're watching this in Australia this evening, or in the Vatican or Mauritius, wherever it is, it's going across the world, the technology and what we're doing here in showing democracy in action.
It really is, and I think it's important what we're doing here as well, because this is a part of history as well, and I think with the last general elections we couldn't do this because of COVID, obviously. So we're here, we're in, thanks to SETU as well, we're in the main campus here on the Cork Road, and it's just an exciting day, isn't it? It really is. Yeah.
Now the election was before COVID, so you were there. That's okay. That's okay. I know. I know the mind.
I was asleep then.
Kyle Butler, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So we've got David Cullinan there. Let's get David back in. David, come here for a quick second. 25% of the boxes tallied.
Yes.
And you're looking at 27% first preference.
Yeah, and Conor McGuinness is very strong as well. So I think the Sinn Fein vote is very much holding up, Damien, on the last election. I'm just looking at Lismore boxes where Sinn Fein hit over 40% of the vote, which is phenomenal. So our councillor, Donncha Mulcahy, up there has obviously played a blinder for us. I did say that before the election, that electoral area was the key one for us, with the loss of a council seat for Fianna Fáil at the time. Conor McGuinness is romping home up there. I was matching John Cummins. So the Sinn Féin vote is just phenomenal. Dungarvan, Conor's doing very well right across the board. I haven't seen some of the mid-county ones, but from what I can see, we're in contention at least now for 2 seats.
If you pick up a few votes in every box, that's grand. Mary Butler and John Cummins are obviously doing very well in mid-boxes that I've seen.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see now what happens across the constituency.
At this stage,
we're hopeful that we'll ring with a shout for a second seat.
Well, that's what I was going to say. At this stage, it's now 20 past 10 on the morning time. Again, you might be watching this on a repeat later on in the evening. You believe that you're in contention for 2 seats?
Yes, I do.
And you don't do failure?
Well, hopefully not, Damien.
See you. Good luck.
Take care.
Thank you very much. David Cullinan there, the sitting Sinn Féin TD. John Hearn, come in here for a quick second. John Hearn, you've been working for the party for many years. I know you've had your rows with the party as well.
You can have rows. All families have rows. That's always good. Yeah.
What was your phrase? Eagles soar while turkeys gobble.
Yeah.
But you're back friends with everybody now.
Absolutely. You have to rise above everything and make sure the team works. If the team doesn't work, you might not be selected on the team every time, but I was sub on plenty of games, you know what I mean? So it's like, I was on Park Rangers, they never realised my talent.
Only 26% of boxes tallied so far. What's your thoughts?
We're quietly confident, but we're not, we never get above ourselves, and that's, you don't want to be disappointing yourself either. 90% of my own St. Paul's parish, that's bigger than the Falls Road could ever get, so that's a fantastic result. So there are
90%?
Over 90% in St. Paul's.
So Sinn Féin are tallying over 90% of first preferences in St. Paul's.
And you wouldn't get that on the Falls Road, so the Republican heartland is gone to our parish in Waterford. And just to keep the tradition, I got you another thing for your
free dairy. You're now entering free dairy. He's got us a fridge magnet. Okay.
For WLR to keep it right.
John Hearn, I'd love to see you give David Cullinan a big hug later if you're all friends.
I'll be kissing David all night now tonight if we get this, and he'll be buying the drink, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Good luck, I'll let you go. Thank you very much. John Hearn there, who is a councillor here in Waterford and a Sinn Féin stalwart, you can say. I'm just going to let Eddie just pan around there for a second and just let you see who others around here. We've got some people there from RTE. There's Karen Creed, who is going to be reporting for RTE later in the programme. Brian Walsh there, the cameraman. They've got some reporters there, and that's the RTE setup up there. And they've got one camera, and they're going to be using that in terms of the situation. Dean, you want to talk to me? Okay, we're going to take a quick break now, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Now, welcome back to our special live broadcast. We've been brought. Welcome back to our special live broadcasting here at our special studio at the Count Centre at SETU. A combination of great work with the SETU audiovisual team and Dean and our technical people here at WLR, bringing you what we believe is unrivaled coverage across the country, not just here, but also accessible to all our thousands of viewers and listeners across the world. We have listeners and viewers in more than 200 principalities and nations. So to our 6 listeners in Mauritius, hope you're keeping well. To our 10 listeners in the Vatican City, we don't know who you are, but if you want to send us in a text at 083 3333 975. And if the Holy Father is listening, thanks very much. Now, we are going to give a little preview of what's coming up in the next 2 hours. At 4 o'clock, we have our extended bulletin with Kieran and the team, and we are going to be doing an interview with Willie Doyle. Kieran will be interviewing Willie Doyle, long-time campaigner for 24/7. Just after that, we start a 2-hour Daisha Today special. We will be interviewing Marco Kohosig from the Green Party. We are looking to talk about national figures with Pat Leahy from the Irish Times and a number of other correspondents around the country. So we're trying to outdo RTE with contributors from around the country in terms of, I suppose, the tallies as they are now and what are the figures. We are expected then to talk to Senator John Cummins at around 4:30 this afternoon. Senator John Cummins looks like he is going to become a TD. Something that his father, Morris, wasn't able to achieve. But John, obviously, if the tallies do prove to be accurate, he will more than likely be a TD for Fine Gael and retain and, I suppose, regain a seat for Fine Gael in this constituency. We're also going to have more details in a short while on the tally figures as they are now compiled. So stay with us here on WLR, whether you are watching us on Facebook, whether you're on Twitter Live. A lot of people watching on Twitter Live. We also have a LinkedIn link, and very importantly as well, via our website. So just go on to WLRFM.com. You can click on the website link there through YouTube. If the signal goes down at all during the day, just re-click it and it'll come back up. Simple as that. So in the next 2 hours, we've got a Daisha Today special coming up, and we have our Daisha Couch, as we call it, our Peter Couch, and we will have a number of people on that couch. So stay with us in a few minutes. Kieran is going to be with the very latest update at 4 o'clock and an interview with Willie Doyle.
smart speaker, mobile and WLRFM.com. This is Ireland's local station of the year.
WLR News at 4 o'clock. Good afternoon, I'm Jordan Norris. The final tallies are in Waterford for this year's general election, with the race for the 4th seat looking particularly tight. It appears as if Sinn Féin's David Cullinane will top the poll, as he did in 2020, while Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are also optimistic of winning seats in Waterford. And we're going to cross live now to our WLR News and Current Affairs team on the Cork Road at SETU, as first counts are expected in the not too distant future. I'm joined now by Kieran Foley. And Kieran, it's the calm before the storm.
Certainly, Jordan, and we've had lots of people making an appearance here. Senator John Cummins of Fine Gael has entered the building, and we've seen lots of other people from the different campaigns for candidates coming in. Of course, Jordan, during this campaign, numerous issues have come up across Waterford City and County, but one of the dominant issues was healthcare, and particularly the pursuit of 24/7 cardiac care. It came up as a huge issue, as it did in the general election of 2016 and 2020. And joining me now is long-time campaigner for 24/7 care. That's Willie Doyle of the 24/7 Cardiac Care for Waterford and the South East Group. Willie, you've been campaigning on this issue, as I said, for many years. How do you feel this issue was dealt with by the candidates during this general election 2024 campaign?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Kieran. And secondly, it's great that 24/7 is now so prominent out there among both the people and the politicians. Unfortunately, this has been going on now for the past almost 10 years, and we still don't have a full 24-hour service. Now, we don't have a choice, be it the day or time of day or day of week, when we're going to have a heart attack. So I think it's very, very important that because we're a Class 4 hospital, we've got a dedicated cardiac service, we should have the same as everybody else. Heart attacks can happen at any time, and I think it's very frightening for both the patient and the patient's family should this happen after hours, the dark of night, the dark of the evening and so on, knowing full well that the patient gets immediate treatment, but then, in spite of all the equipment being here, they've got to be transferred to outside area, be it Cork or be it Dublin. And we all know how bad the weather is, has been and will be to try and transfer patients in a specific time, because the clock is ticking from the time you have your cardiac event. I think it's very, very important that early treatment, early medication afterwards, and can restore a person's quality of life, because sadly, the longer it takes to treat the heart, the more damage is done. That damage is permanent.
So we've heard so much about the campaign, Willie, during the general election here in Waterford, but are we any closer to actually pushing this over the line? And what are your calls on the 4 candidates who are eventually elected here in the Waterford constituency?
The call is very, very simple. Give us the same as everybody else, because we in the South East are the very, very same people as is any place else. So give us the 24/7. The equipment is there. All we need is have it staffed and opened. And we hear a lot nowadays about problems with staffing. Now, sadly, if there is a 24/7 service, we will get the staff. Because the cardiac people who would like to come to the South East, who would like to live in the South East, who would like to bring their families to the South East, they want a 24/7 service so they can keep their skills up. This 5-day-a-week service is of no value to professional consultants who are looking at vacancies around the place. So this business of we have vacancies but we can't fill them, to be honest, it doesn't wash well with us.
Okay, Willie Doyle, thank you very much for that update on the campaign, and I'm sure this issue is going to remain an issue in all of the discussions with the general election candidates and in the 4 TDs who are elected from Waterford. So as I mentioned, Jordan, we are awaiting an official first count, but we will bring you the very latest as it happens.
Thanks very much, Kieran Foley and Willie Doyle at the Count Centre. And we are expecting first counts to be declared in the next hour as counting continues across the country. Most constituencies across the country do have final tallies in, and Sean Defoe has been among those analysing the details.
Of the 174 seats to be elected, based on the tally data we have, 136 of those seats look pretty nailed on. And what the figures show is that the transfer battles for final seats will be decisive. Based on my looking at the numbers currently, Fianna Fáil has 36 seats, Sinn Fein 35 and Fine Gael 34. So absolutely neck and neck. 12 at the moment for independents and others, but they're the candidates that would be in transfer battles anyway. 6 for Labour and 6 for Soc Dems. Expect both of those to come up. 4 for Independent Ireland, 2 for Solidarity People Before Profit, 1 for Aontú and none for the Greens. This comes with all the usual health warnings that transfers can't change everything and leaves 38 seats across the country in play and yet to be convincingly decided.
Waterford Sport. With Otto Boland Jeep. Test drive the new Jeep Avenger. Built for the real world.
Very good afternoon for WLR Sport. I'm Kieran Walsh. Starting with hurling now, in heartbreak for Kilrossenty in the Munster Junior Club Hurling Championship. They took on Russell Rovers of Cork in Páirc Uí Rinn. The Waterford side were unsuccessful in this outing. Kilrossenty selector Maurice D says despite the score, his team gave it their all.
Yeah, look, Kevin, they were the better team on the day, I suppose. Look, probably with early wides, maybe that's just set us back a little bit in the first half. Look, you can't, what you say the lads inside, they give everything. They gave 110%.
And staying with local GA now, and Medelago have also been unsuccessful in their attempt to move on in the All-Ireland Championship. They took on Knocknaanna of Wicklow in Enniscorthy. The full-time score there was Knocknaanna 116, Medelago 1-6. Over to rugby next, and Munster return to United Rugby Championship action this evening when they meet the Lions at 7:35. It's the first game after the Graham Roundtree era came to an end. Waterford's Jack O'Donoghue says they've been working hard to arrest their recent slump in form.
You had 2 tough weeks of training, but they've been very enjoyable, and I think we've worked hard on certain areas where we needed to improve on, and I hope that this weekend we'll be able to showcase that those areas have certainly improved and we're kind of heading in the right direction.
Elsewhere in rugby, Ireland take on Australia in the International Rugby Union. The score there is currently Australia 13, Ireland 5. Over to the Premier League action now, and there are 4 games currently at half-time in the 3 p.m. kickoffs. The score around the grounds is Brentford are beating Leicester 3-1. Crystal Palace and Newcastle United is 0-0. That one's just kicked off again. Nottingham Forest, Ipswich Town also 0-0. And Wolves in Bournemouth, it is 3-1 to Bournemouth in that one. And finally, in horse racing news, trainer Henry de Bromhead recorded a double at Fairyhouse this afternoon with Sam McGee and the Folks Tiara winning their respective races over fences. Local owner David Flynn was also among the winners when his Ballygunner Castle overcame trouble in running before capturing a maiden hurdle. Sports News on WLR is with thanks to Otto Boland. For all your Waterford general election news this weekend, keep up to date on air and on WLRFM.com.
WLR weather. Thanks to Grant. From condensing oil and HVO biofuel boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.ie.
Windy again today due to Storm Bert. There will be a mix of sunny spells and occasional heavy showers to begin, mainly across the western half of the country, with isolated thunderstorms and hail. The showers will become more frequent in the west and northwest later this afternoon, with further localised flooding possible. Highest temperatures 9 to 12 degrees.
Live from the Waterford Town Centre, this is WLR, your election station.
Welcome back live to our broadcast centre. Thank you, Kieran, for that news bulletin, and to Willie Doyle as well. And Kieran will have more interviews throughout the day with various people involved in the parties and independents and others. We are live now here from our specially operated centre, as I said, by Dean and Keane from WLR and SETU. And they're going out live on Facebook, going out live via our YouTube channel, which can be accessed on WLRFM.com. We're also live on Twitter and LinkedIn. If anybody is... there's quite a few people on LinkedIn. This is a special 2-hour Daisha Today special. From 4 o'clock till 6, we'll be getting the national picture from a number of correspondents around the country as well. If the link does go down in terms of your television or streaming service access, just re-click on it and it will come back itself. Now, Mark O'Cosig is the sitting Green Party TD for Waterford, and he joins me now on the Daisha Today couch, Peter Couch as we're calling it. Trying to get a smile out of you there, Mark. And we have our little polar bear called Kevin, who is representing the environment today, because no matter what happens today, climate change, the environment may consume us all in the next few decades. We just don't know. Firstly, Mark O'Cahusig, your thoughts on the tallies. Again, they're only tallies, but they have you at around 3.1%, around 1,500 first preferences. Your thoughts, please.
Very difficult day for the Greens here in Waterford and nationally. It seems fairly clear that, you know, the Waterford results seem fairly clear. We'll have a fight out for the 4th seat between Conor McGuinness and Matt Shanahan. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But definitely, I suppose, the picture here in Waterford is reflected in the national picture as well for the Green Party, where we have not performed well, not at all to our hope, even to our expectation, I think. And yeah, it's a difficult day for us.
How do you feel personally?
In a sense, Damien, so if I was looking at it and if I was very much underperforming a national picture, I'd be questioning myself. I'd be saying, okay, where is it that I went wrong as an individual? Of course, I'm still questioning myself in terms of where we've gone wrong as a party. But it seems clear when you look at some of the Dublin constituencies, which have been real Green strongholds, now under serious pressure, that there's very little I could have done in a local context to try and beat the headwinds. You'd expect a bit of Shakespeare from me. I don't know what play you studied for your junior cert, but
it had to be Hamlet.
You're a Hamlet man. But if you've ever read Julius Caesar,
yes,
there's the very famous quote: "There's a tide in the affairs of men which, taken at its flood, leads on to glory, omitted, and all the voyages of his life are bound in sorrows and in miseries. And on such a full sea we are now afloat, and we must take the current when it serves, or lose all our ventures." So in 2020, the Greens took the current when it served, and we accomplished a huge amount. I have to say, I feel extremely proud to have been involved in this last government. I knew in 2020, essentially I was a wild card in 2020. If Sinn Fein had run Conor McGuinness in 2020, it's very unlikely I'd have been sat here on the couch at all. So I used that opportunity to its fullest extent. I delivered to the best of my ability for the people of Waterford, but also on the national policy objectives as well, and I'm proud of that record of work.
As you were coming in, people were shaking hands with you, they were slapping you on the back, they were commiserating with you. What's that like? Like a bereavement, you said.
Well, I think people are treating it like a bereavement. It's not a bereavement, you know. It takes a great deal of bravery. I'm not talking about myself here, I'm talking in general. Putting yourself on a poster, hanging yourself on a lamppost is not an easy thing to do. And we are very lucky to live in one of the most robust democracies and one of the longest standing democracies in the world. And anybody who puts themselves in that situation and puts themselves out to the public, it's a real act of courage, and it's an act of faith in our democratic institutions. And if you're prepared to put yourself forward in that way, you have to be prepared for failure as well as for success. So everybody in my family is in good health. My 3 boys are at home. My missus is singing a Messiah up in Clonmel this evening. And tomorrow morning I'm going to get up. I'm going to be a little bit heart sore. Of course I am. I'm going to feel it. But I'm going to move on in my life, and there's been no tragedies. So it's not a bereavement at all. I do think, however, the Green Party politics, and you have your polar bear mascot here to market, those big existential issues, they're not going away. I do worry now that the Green Party as a political force is going to be hopefully represented in the 34th Dáil, but there's a chance at this stage that they may not be represented at all. And I know for a fact, from having been in government in a coalition with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, I know from the rhetoric of many of the independents, I know from Sinn Féin's viewpoint when we were sat down in pre-programme for government talks, nobody takes the issue as seriously as we do. And without us in the mix, I worry that a lot of the huge progress we've made over the term of this government may begin to be unpicked.
They will say that they have taken a lot of your best policies. Some people will say they've cannibalized some of those policies. Others will say they have done it, but they may not implement them the same way that ye would have done or will do if you were in government, and you won't be in government the next time round. And just to let the listeners and the viewers know, in terms of the national picture, you mentioned earlier Catherine Martin is in serious trouble. Roderick O'Gorman is in trouble. He might scrape through. Your colleague Malcolm Noonan, just up the road in Kilkenny, 4.2%, in serious trouble. There may be only one Green Party TD in the next stall. There may be none.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. And places where we would have traditionally been extremely strong. Dunleary Rathdown is another constituency that I'd point at where Oisin Smith still has a very outside chance of retaining his seat, but very much an outside chance. On the idea that other parties are stealing our clothes, look, I actually want all parties to be very good on climate. I want them to be good on public transport. I want them to be good on nature. I have no problem at all with them stealing those clothes. So, for example, things like the rooftop revolution, the amount of solar panels that are being installed on rooftops all across the country, I don't believe that's going to be rolled back on because it's immensely popular. People are voting with their feet, as it were. They're putting the solar panels up, and you just don't run into somebody who's regretted making that decision. It just doesn't happen. But I do think, look, we're the Green Party. That is absolutely core for us, front and centre. Action on climate, action on our environment, action on nature. And I don't think the other parties have that same drive and commitment to it. If they do, fantastic. But I don't sense it.
Mark O'Cosig, what went wrong?
We would have discussed this before, Damien. Well, I think a number of things went wrong. The first thing is, in politics, there's two things that you have to do. You have to do the work, and you have to communicate that you've done the work. I think the Green Party in government did the work, and I think where we fell down is we failed to communicate the work. But the other thing that we know from several of the focus groups that we run, that what people think about the Greens is what other people say about us, rather than what we're saying about ourselves. And so I think we became the bait and war of practically all of the other parties. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael were quite happy to distance themselves from us at the start of this election. And from their perspective, from that kind of, I suppose, centrist or centre-right perspective, it was the Greens what made us do it, was kind of the narrative that was coming across. Then similarly, we were being attacked from the left, whereby we were being painted as not being left enough or having propped up establishment parties. Then you had a narrative that personally very much annoys me, the idea that the Greens are anti-rural. And as you know, I'm from Butlerstown, proud Butlerstown man. Would classify myself as from a rural background. But these were persistent narratives and they really stuck. And trying to counteract those narratives is very difficult. So I suppose it really is about us having a look at ourselves and looking at those core visions that we know that are absolutely essential to get across, but taking a long, hard look at ourselves in terms of how we communicate that work.
But it can't just be about communication. We've had Johnny O'Connor in here who would have an old school attitude to some political analysis, and he said the broad brush strokes that ye painted were too broad. Ye didn't bring the people with ye. What would you have to say to that?
There could be an element to that, and I mean, I'm still very close up against this election result. It's going to take a long time for me to kind of unpack it in that way. So whether we needed to, I suppose, individuate those policies out to people. The other thing, I was very aware of this. I was 8 months on the council before I was elected to the Dáil, and our route structure, you know, we had the green wave in 2019 and 2020, but did we have that route structure to be able to do, I suppose, the basics of being a local representative, being a representative for Waterford, in terms of was I as connected into community structures as I would have liked to have been?
Was it a bit flaky?
No, I don't think we were flaky. I think we were extremely committed and extremely focused.
Was the support flaky in the sense that at any change in the wind, it may float away to another party?
There's huge volatility in the electorate in general, in the Irish context. Not just in the Irish context, this is all across the globe. I mean, we haven't even discussed turnout as yet, which is, and I said, like,
possibly 58%.
And, you know,
which is down from 64.
It is such a robust and such a vibrant democracy in some ways, and we really have to safeguard that. And when we have 58% of people turning out to vote, now, and I know there's work needing to be done on the electoral register to get those numbers to actually stack up properly. Well, what kind of mandate does any government have? If you only have nigh on half of the eligible voters turning out to vote, and then half of that again constitutes the majority. I think that it erodes the validity of our democracy, and I think there's a large look. These are large sweep questions, but how is it that we get people back engaged with our democracy? All of the political parties would notice, and this is not just the Greens, but there's fewer volunteers coming out. There's fewer people who are turning up to knock on doors. And this isn't just with the Greens, this is all across the political spectrum. And I think there's a real concern in that.
On the local issues, we spoke about this 6 months ago. The airport killed you.
I think the airport definitely damaged me. I think that's unfortunate. I stick by my position on that. I don't think the airport board have done a good enough job in terms of formulating the business case in the first place. We'll see where the airport goes from here. I know that the department is in that ongoing engagement, but certainly I was getting it at the doors, and people who were telling me, we voted for you in 2020, but you've lost my vote over the airport.
Did you consider at any stage going against the party policy and doing what John McGuinness has done over the years up in Kilkenny to maybe differentiate himself from the Fianna Fáil party? Should you have become a slightly independent Green, staying within the party structure, but being critical of the party, and in other words, use your elbows a lot more, as you would have said, in terms of fighting for your seat? Because no matter how good you were at following your principles, ultimately this and these things may have cost you a Green seat and Green influence in government, which you have just outlined will damage the economy, the green economy, because there won't be enough Greens there.
Look, Damien, as I said to you at the start, if I was sat here and the party had polled 10% nationally and we were pulling back like our traditional seats and all the rest of it, if Malcolm was getting re-elected in Kilkenny, if Roisin Garvey was getting across the line in Clare, I would definitely be looking at my own campaign. And I will look at my own campaign and my own performance within government. But you'd be looking at it and be going, where did it go wrong? If I had been missing out by the 3, 4, 5%. But when you look at it nationally, and not just nationally, but on a European picture, the tide has gone out on that green wave of 2019
So
and
what you're
2020.
saying is that the airport damaged you. It didn't cause you to lose your seat. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I would further say that I am a man of my principles, and I would have said to my wife at the very start of this is that the most important thing is at the end of the process I can still look at myself in the mirror. And so I wasn't prepared, and this isn't necessarily to do with the airport, but there would be certain Rubicons that you would be put in front of you in political life in terms of, will you cross over this in order to be more popular, in order to earn votes, migration would be a real issue around that. There have been people at the doors that I've met over the past 3 weeks who have said to me, I want you to take position X on migration. And I would have said to them, I'm not to vote for you. If that's your position on migration, well then there are other candidates for you to vote for. So I think it's important in a political process that, you set out your values and you stick by them.
Okay. 2 more quick questions. In terms of communication, how were you so bad at communicating your message? You were really, really bad at getting the message across, nationally and locally, about all the changes you brought in regarding local link and 25-30% reduction in public transport charges. You were really bad at it.
That's a tough question. It's a tough question to answer, and I think that's going to be one of the things that I suppose myself locally, but also nationally, that we're really going to have to take a long, hard look at. I will know, and like any of the journalists in the room will know, like there were press releases about the reduction in public transport, or there were press releases about, the new bus routes or whatever else. But then when you look at it, and as I said, there's a European context, a national context to this as well. Is this what people wanted? Is it actually what they wanted from a government or not?
I know, but that lets you off the hook in some respects, it's not our fault.
I would say then there's a wider context about how our media is functioning, and what's happening in terms of traditional media versus new media. it's extremely difficult to break in as a small party on the algorithms that are governing the likes of TikTok, Instagram, whatever. And then there's a wider question about money that's being spent in
although
those.
you did, again, there was a wave, as you say, in 2019, 2020, and you did manage to break in with the algorithm still in place then. So whatever you did in government, but the fact that you are a government TD now, and one of the senior members in government in terms of being the party whip, you were rolled out a lot as a spokesperson for many different aspects. It's a hammer blow for you and for the Greens.
Absolutely. Look, we are going to have to look at it. You know, we're very, as I said, I'm right in it at the minute, so I have very little perspective on the result at the minute. I've been calling around, you know, other colleagues in the parliamentary party, and everybody's really feeling it. Everybody's very gutted at the minute. The quality of the analysis you're going to get out of me or any other Green Party politician right in the here and now is going to be fairly questionable. But it's something, because wherever we finish up after this election, we are facing a rebuild. I don't think that our issues and our messages are any less relevant today than they were yesterday or 5 years ago. In fact, they're far more relevant. So we really do have to figure out how we reach people and we communicate that in a way that matters to them.
Are you going to go back to teaching?
Today is the day that I found out that I got 3% in the polls, Damien. Today is not the day I make a decision about the future. And also,
you'll wait and see.
Yeah, and also it's not a decision that I'm going to make on my own. You go back to your family, and I don't think anybody would be wise to make a decision on their future within a week.
Exactly, yeah.
Of a result like today.
I don't disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
How sad are you?
I'm not sad yet, Damien. I suspect probably sometime next week, maybe around Wednesday, I'll realise that I'm at a loose end, and whatever ideas I have. Being in government is fantastic. You have an idea and you say it to somebody and it happens, or it can happen. I'll be back now to shouting at the TV and whispering my ideas up my sleeve.
Shouting at the radio as well.
Shouting at the radio. What that fella, that Damien Tiernan fella is
and playing the
shouting
guitar,
on again.
Playing the guitar.
All of those things. Yeah.
Marco Kostig, in our dealings with you on this programme and from our news team as well, it's been a pleasure and an honour working with you. You've always been very amenable to having the chats. You've always been very honest of what you've said. And genuinely, from Jennifer, producer, the very best of luck to you and your family.
Thank you very much, Damien.
Stay with us, back in a few minutes.
So, how do you like your Sunday morning breakfast? If you like it with a great song, a classic hit,
LA's my lady. She's
or something that brings back golden memories, then join me, Timmy Ryan, for Timmy on Sunday, with thanks to McDonald's, Cork Road and John Roberts Square.
I'm loving it.
A little suspiok. Isn't that refreshing? Rockshore, it's the most wonderful time for a beer. Get the facts, be drink aware, visit drinkaware.ie.
Affordable Luxury Furniture is having its biggest Black Friday sale ever, and it's happening now. Huge reductions on sofas, beds, mattresses, all types of furniture, as well as carpets and flooring. They're open today from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday from 1 to 6 p.m. So call into Affordable Luxury Furniture on the Cork Road, Waterford, this Black Friday weekend. Don't miss.
Jewelry, and of course, a gift wrap. Oh, I love pals. Let's go.
Christmas fair and Candles Tremor. Open until 10 p.m. daily. Plenty of parking over the weekend. Beside the library.
Perfect day as the Park Hotel Dublin, our four-star wedding venue, offers exclusive superior service and a lavish ballroom. Talk to wedding experts today and let our family look after yours. The four-star Park Hotel Dublin.
Go full Lidl with our roast and toast pairings on Lidl Plus. Love every succulent slice of our board B-approved Irish round roast joint, 22% off now $6.99. And a perfect pairing is our French Merlot, 20% off now $7.99. Scan your Lidl Plus app and go full Lidl today. Get the facts, but drinkware, visit drinkware.ie.
Shaw's Black Friday sale is now on, with up to 50% off most departments. Check out the Shaw's Black Friday sale online now at shaws.ie.
Thinking of a new floor for your home? John Murphy Carpets has a wide selection of carpets and wooden floors in store now. With many discounts in their large stock, you'll get great advice and savings, whatever your budget. Visit John Murphy Carpets, Mayor's Walk, Waterford today, or click johnmurphycarpets.ie. Service, selection and value for over 35 years.
Buying things online is super handy. A few clicks and it's done. But it can leave us open to fraudsters and scam artists. And they can pack a serious sting. The Fraud Smart Scam Checker is an easy way to check whether the site you're using is legit. It's a free website that's easy to use. Use it before you purchase anything online and avoid getting stung. Don't get stung online. Visit the Fraud Smart Scam Checker at scamchecker.ie.
You're forced to flee in the dead of night, running with your children, exhausted, hurt, terrified. This is the reality for millions of people fleeing conflict in Sudan, families who need your support this Christmas. Please visit concern.net now to provide vital support to families who have lost everything.
Easy Living Interiors Waterford Retail Park is celebrating the final day of Black Friday discounts and the huge Christmas collection promotion in store this Sunday. Join me, Andy Mack, for an extended Sunday jukebox live from Easy Living Interiors 12 to 3 p.m. Don't miss out on incredible deals, expert interior design, advice, great music, and the chance to win big at Easy Living Interiors, Waterford Retail Park, this Sunday. Doors open at midday.
Live from the Waterford Town Centre, this is WLR, your election station.
Now, welcome back to our special live broadcast, Daisha, today, and I want to apologise to Pat Leahy for holding me on the line for so long. As you know, we don't get any government support. We have to have a lot of ads in at Christmas time. That's why it is. But also our parent company, the Irish Times, we are delighted to be part of the Irish Times. Pat Leahy, apologies for keeping you on the line there. You're joining us live on Zoom and you're going out on all our different channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and much more besides. The national picture, Pat, the reason I delayed, unfortunately, was because I had to talk to Mark O'Cahasig, one of the Green Party TDs who's going to lose his seat. Combine that in terms of the national picture, Pat. What are we looking at, please? Political editor of the Irish Times.
Hiya, Damien. Happy to be here as ever. Yeah, I saw just the last bit of your interview with Mark O'Cahasig there. I mean, I guess I feel sorry for him and for everybody who loses their seat today. It's an especially difficult day for the Greens. We won't know probably until into tomorrow whether they can manage to save any seats. Some of them are definitely gone. Mark's is one of those. Several others already clear that they're gone as well. Whether Roderick O'Gorman can cling on, Oisin Smith in Dunleary has perhaps an outside chance of clinging on. Catherine Martin in Dublin Rathdown, who really was a kind of a banker for the party to hang on to. That looks like it's gone now. So, you know, you'd have to say at this stage, the Greens result is likely to hover somewhere between 0 and 1, maybe. So that much is clear. The other, I suppose, parts of the big picture, just very briefly, are Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael seem likely to outperform last night's exit polls. Probably Fianna Fáil with the highest number of seats. None of these things we'll know for sure until tomorrow, maybe into Monday. But that's what it looks like at the moment. Fine Gael close behind. Sinn Fein around the early 20s as well. Though Sinn Fein won't. Though it has. One of the new things we see from Sinn Féin is an excellent vote management strategy. Waterford, as I was saying to you when we chatted the other day, would be one of the places I'll be looking to see if that can add seats. But in terms of government formation, it looks like that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, if you think about the magic number, is 88 seats in the next Dáil. looks like Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael are going to be maybe around the early to mid 80s. So not very far away from an overall majority on their own, but probably not making it.
Okay, and will the Labour Party get 5 or 6 seats? Is it possible that they might be able to coalesce with either them or the Social Democrats? Or what's your thoughts at the minute in terms of, you don't have to go through obviously each constituency or anything like that, but what are we looking at? What's your feel about it at the moment, please, Pat?
Yeah, so again, with all the caveats of us being so early in the process here, but I think Labour are going to have a fairly good day, thinking certainly 5 or 6 seats, possibly as many as 8 or 9, depending on how the bounce of the ball hops for them in a couple of constituencies. Social Democrats look like they're having a very good day. Their vote is up right across the country. Places where they were expected to be under pressure, like Dublin Central, like party leader Holly Kearns's own seat. In Cork Southwest, they're definitely going to hold those seats now. They may hold the seats of the departing co-leaders in Kildare North. They may they're in a scrap. It's a 3-seater, but they're in a scrap in Dublin Northwest, and they may hold on to that seat. And they're looking at possible gains elsewhere. So I think they too will be in that sort of 8, 9, possibly 10 range. What that means for government formation, Damien, we'll have to wait and see. Ivana Bacik talked before the election about talking to the Greens and the Social Democrats to have a sort of a red-green centre-left platform that would do coalition negotiations as a unit. Doesn't look like there'll be any Green part of that. Will Labour and the Social Democrats come together to form a political alliance with a view to entering government? I have my doubts, to be honest, but that's all a couple of weeks down the line yet.
Okay. Will the monk get elected?
I think probably not. I wouldn't rule it out completely, but I think probably not. I think he may pull in some transfers when Malachy Steenson, the independent, goes out. But it looks to me like there's a bunch of kind of progressive left votes there. There'll be, I can't see Nasa Harrigan's votes if she gets eliminated. I can't see those votes going to Jerry Hutch. They could help. That could be one of Labour's possible pickup. Senator Marie Sherlock. If she doesn't, there's also a bunch of Fianna Fáil votes there. Mary Fitzpatrick's votes. Again, I can't see those going to Jerry the Monk Hutch. Much more likely to end up either with the Greens or with Labour. So I think at this stage we're more likely to see a Labour pick up there than Jerry Hutch.
Okay, in the 20 seconds we've left, it looks like Gráinne Seoige will not get elected in Galway. Is that correct, Pat?
That's what it looks like at the moment, Damien. Her candidacy obviously created a bit of a splash, but sometimes voters prefer, hard-slogging local politicians than celebrity candidates, just in case you were ever thinking about it yourself, Damien.
Pat Leahy, as ever, a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for waiting for us, and have a great day. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, Damien.
Thanks very much. Pat Leahy there, political editor of the Irish Times. Stay with us. We're going to be back with John Cummins.
Town Centre. This is WLR, your election station.
Now, welcome back to our Daisha Today special, live from our broadcast centre, our outside broadcast centre, brilliant studio here at the SETU College campus. It's not at the arena. And again, some lovely pictures going out on our various social media platforms, and that includes Facebook, onto Twitter Live, a lot of viewers on Twitter Live, and on LinkedIn as well, and through our website, WLRFM.com. Now, joining me on the couch, on the Daisha Today couch, renamed Peter Couch for the day. Do you like that, John? I know you like your sports. Peter Couch, Peter Crouch?
Yeah, I'd be a Man United fan though, so yeah.
That's okay, so am I, that's all right. And we've got Kevin the polar bear there because environmental issues and polar bears, and we've had Marco Kosik talking about other parties taking the environmental issues. We'll talk about that in a minute. Firstly, we are still only dealing with tallies. The first count hasn't yet. Now are joining our live streams. That's very important to say. So anything we say is only based on the tallies. Now the tallies normally are fairly good. They're normally they're not really wrong, and they're looking at around 18, possibly 18.5% first preference votes for yourself. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, well, look, thanks very much for inviting me onto the couch. You have done a fantastic job in the coverage that you've had so far. I was watching it from home this morning
in bed.
It was good to see it from the bed this morning. I tried to have a little bit of a lie in, and I obviously planned on sleeping a bit longer, but that wasn't possible. I only got a few hours sleep. So
because the excitement on a human and a personal level, John, the excitement, the work you've put in, and again, we'll talk about the different campaigns, teams, but it must be draining. It must be just so tiring.
Certainly tired, Damien. I think I've clocked up about 260 kilometres in the last 20 odd days there. So it's been a grueling campaign, but look, the tallies, as we were just talking about there, it appears from them that we're on about 19%, which would be an increase from 16.5% in 2020. A very strong showing across the entire county, and which we're obviously very proud of. My office in Dungarvan and the city, Lauren and Brandon and Jennifer, and all the work that we've done for constituents, and the fantastic team of 8 Fine Gael councillors right across the city and county. And there's some in the media, not yourself, of course, locally, but nationally, spoke about disunity within Fine Gael and Waterford. It couldn't be further from the truth. This project started 5 years ago, not 5 weeks ago, and there's been 100% unity, and that's clearly what has paid off for us today.
So based on those tallies, I want to be the first person to congratulate you. I want to say well done and fair play to you.
Well, thanks very much. And obviously they come with a health warning, as you said. I'll be a lot happier when I see the first count. I think I was about 300 better off on the tally from 2020 to the actual first count. So I certainly hope that might be reflected today as well. But look, we don't know. There was about 12 boxes that we understand were only half tallied and then doubled. So that's not an exact science.
No, it's not. So there might be a variation on those tallies, and as we say, those tallies always come with a health warning, and you're very good at analysing the tallies, and your father and all your team, and again, they come with a bit of a health warning. But anything around 18-19% of first preference mirrors a lot what Fine Gael is getting nationally. So well done. You're the only Fine Gael candidate in the constituency, so any Fine Gael vote will go to you. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's it. And look, I really would like to thank everyone who has assisted on the campaign over the last number of years. I couldn't have done it. This is not one individual. It's not about me. It's not about Fine Gael. It's about everybody. And, you simply couldn't do it without the team in the office, without all the people who put up posters, sent out leaflets, letters, canvassed. it was just an amazing experience to be part of such a team. And I do have to thank my wife Inga as well, who was out every single day and night canvassing as well and supporting me. I couldn't do it without her either.
Yeah, she's just outside, is she?
I think she's downstairs,
she's
actually.
downstairs.
I just saw her on the screen there
Just
a second
downstairs.
ago.
Jennifer,
yeah.
we might go down and ask Inga, will she come up and see if she'll come up and join us? She might. If she doesn't want it, that's fine. Go to see. I'm not going to get you to cry, John, obviously. That's what we don't try and do on this programme.
Oh, you love that, all right, yeah.
But talking to your father this morning, I know your father for many, many years. I know you for a good few years. Again, he was just holding it back. But the pride and the joy and the feeling of, oh my God, not just for the family, but for the party, because to reclaim the seat after what happened the last time and the work you've put in, my God, you've worked hard.
Yeah, no, we have worked hard. And I keep talking about a team because it is a team. And from those tallies as well, the Fine Gael vote in the 3 city areas were up between 5 and 8%. The Sinn Fein vote was actually down between 18 and 14% in all of those 3 electoral districts. And I more than matched, in fact increased on what both Damien and I got in the Cumra area, the Lismore area, and with the exception of the Dungarvan area, obviously was stronger because Damien was from Dungarvan the last time. So a really, really strong performance across the whole county.
So just to remind our listeners, the last time, 2020, John Cummins, 8.54% first preferences, 4,592. Damien Gagan, 7.98%, just 8% nearly, 4,289. So the combined there, 16.5%. If you're looking at 19%, you have increased your first preference. The work as well that Damien Gagan and his team rowing in behind you, and the unity, and I've said this on this programme this morning, you heard me saying it, I'm in this constituency now more than 30 years. I've never seen Fine Gael as united as I have seen ye in the last 6 months.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, when people spoke in about disunity, it probably made us even more united, to be honest with you. So, look, it's been great. It's been great to lead the Fine Gael team from the Shannon in Waterford over the last 5 years, but I've never hidden my ambition to want to represent Waterford in Dáil Éireann, and I believe I can achieve a lot more for our city and county in Dáil Éireann, and I want to be that strong voice for all of Waterford, not just sections of Waterford.
And the anticipation of hugging the family later.
Oh, look, I'm trying not to think about later on, to be honest with you, Damien. As I said, I'd be much happy. Much happy.
Just think
I'd
of
be
the thoughts of it. It's just going to be amazing. The relief as well.
Yeah, no, well, it's relief already, to be honest. But I'll be happier when I see a first count, of course. But I suppose I was strangely calm yesterday. Throughout the whole day, people said, "How was I not so nervous?" Probably because I knew that I couldn't have done any more over the last number of weeks and months.
Okay.
I didn't think that you'd get my wife up onto the couch there now. So
move into the centre there. You can move little.
I can get closer. Is it?
Little Kevin away, yes, and put Kevin there. Give Inga the microphone for a second there, John. Inga, hello.
Hello, Damien.
Congratulations.
Well, we'll take congratulations when the first count comes in, but yeah, it's great.
How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel great. Very grateful. Grateful to everyone who helped us on the campaign, the team behind, all the councillors. Like, I can't even start naming names, and not for the reason that I will forget someone, mainly for the reason that there were just so many people. Like, the support has been unbelievable. Brandon, who's just sitting here, who has been on the campaign the whole time, and Lauren and Jennifer in the office, and so very, very grateful and exhausted.
And people don't
I'm
realise,
exhausted as well.
People don't realise the effort and the stress and the strain that goes in. So John might be on the radio, on the telly, and he took the housing brief very well for the party, but then you're there at night and you're hearing stuff and you're getting stuff and all that, and then you're confiding in each other, and then you're supporting each other. It just must have been like you're a team. I can see it. I know you from before you got married, you know?
We absolutely are. Yeah, and the times I'm playing Damien Tiernan as well at home, asking the tough questions.
Did you do that, John?
Never as tough as you do, but yeah, we do try. Yeah, the support has to be there. Like the candidate and the person can't do it alone. And also two of us being a team, we can't do it alone. We need and we have the support. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, on a personal and a political level, like John has raised a number of times, we've spoken about different issues in terms of how people that have come into Ireland, the new Irish, and how they perceive them, how it affected John personally as well. And those moments where you come together and you say, do you know what, we're going to drive on.
Yeah, well, new Irish include me as well.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's always kind of things like that, yeah. And look, the new Irish are great as well. We bring a lot with us, but we are also, again, very grateful and very happy for the support we get. I was extremely lucky. I'm in Ireland now over 18 years, and from the day one nearly, I was always very, very lucky to meet absolutely lovely people. Always worked, contributed, integrated into the society. I probably have more Irish friends now that I have friends in Slovakia, and also a lot of my friends who are in Slovakia, I actually met them here. I was actually supposed to be in Slovakia today with them at the concert. So if they're watching or seeing it or doing anything, so yeah.
How much do you love this man?
Oh well, that's coming very personal on the radio, but yeah,
He's getting emotional
I
now,
would say being since the canvas and since the election was called, being on the campaign every single day. I haven't missed a day of the campaign. I missed one day before the election was called, and that was for work reasons. I was traveling for work. Yeah, I think, being there every day, keeping him alive, making sure that the dinner is on the table and the shirts are ironed. If they weren't ironed,
don't say that.
Forgive me.
That's why he didn't want you on the couch now,
giving too much away,
secrets,
but yeah,
I think he irons his own shirt sometimes. I know he does.
He absolutely does, but he just didn't have the time. If you're when you're canvassing 10:30 until 12:30, 1 until 5, and 6 until 8 p.m. Where are you finding the time to do anything else rather than trying to feed yourself?
As John said a number of times, he will be potentially the most senior Fine Gael politician within the Southeast. Do you think he's ministerial material?
We're not getting ahead of ourselves.
No, look, the first count wasn't even announced yet. So very first he needs to get over the line, also see the number of votes, and look, if the party is kind of, if most definitely, I think he, and I'm biased in that, he definitely proved himself, as you said on the housing brief,
absolutely,
that he's very capable, but there's a lot of things that come into mix.
John, take the microphone back for a second, because I know you don't want her to reveal any more secrets.
No, I definitely don't. You're after doing very well there now. So we didn't plan that.
No, we didn't. And sometimes, you know what? Sometimes they're the nicest things. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not trying to get any sort of big story out of this, but it's lovely to do a natural thing on this. It really is.
Oh yeah. No.
And again, just on a personal level, to have Inga by your side and for her to be with you personally and professionally.
I know. Look, I said it like. You can't do it without, like, we are a team, the two of us and the whole wider team. You can't do it without the sport. No politician can, like anywhere in the country. Like, it is difficult. You're in Dublin 2-3 days, 2-3 nights a week, and I understand how difficult it is for Inga at home, but that's the job that we do. That's part of it. And, Inga's always been so supportive, and, you couldn't do it without it.
No rows, no?
No, strangely we don't, actually, which is quite bizarre, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
On that ministerial thing, far too early to even talk about this.
Yeah, no.
But now, let me put it to you. You will have united the party in Waterford, which is traditionally Fine Gael. There's a strong Fine Gael vote in many respects. you will be the most senior politician in the Southeast. You have always talked about the Southeast as a region. I'll give you that. Credit where credit is due, 100%. And Waterford being the driving force of that. So, again, you wouldn't rule yourself out if something came your way.
Yeah, no, look, it is premature. One, in terms of not being elected here in Waterford first, but secondly, and more probably importantly, we don't know the makeup of any government formation and whether Fine Gael will be part of it even. So, yeah, look, far too early to talk about those things, but obviously I'm ambitious for Waterford and I want the best for Waterford, and I believe I can contribute to that. Otherwise I wouldn't have put my name on the ballot paper.
Absolutely, 100%, and that's the way, and people want to do the best, as you say, for their party but for their country as well. Would you have a preference at this stage if Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and another were to go in together?
No, to be honest, I think, look, we don't know how those numbers are going to land. I've struggled to keep track of what's happening around the country for obvious reasons.
Labour
but
and the Social Democrats will be an option more than likely.
Yeah, but it does seem it's hard to know where those seat bonuses are going to go in terms of the last seat in many constituencies. That will be a determining factor in terms of how many numbers might be required. So look, obviously my preference is to ensure that we have a government and a stable government for the next 5 years, because we do have choppy waters ahead, especially in terms of US politics. So,
call in one word the last seat here.
Oh God. Will too tight, and also we have to see the first count because there is a health warning. If you were to take it on the tallies, Sinn Fein do look strong for a second seat, but obviously if it's tighter on a first count, well then Matt Shanahan will be certainly there quite close, you know.
Mr. and Mrs. Cummins, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us on Peter Couch, the Daisha Couch. Congratulations, John Cummins.
Thanks very much.
It's premature at the minute,
yeah,
but best of luck, and thank you so much for talking to
no
us.
problem.
Back after the news. Thank you very much.
Lights, trees,
incredibly creepy on Tallying. The first count at the usual count siege is currently underway, with a result expected soon. The latest tally results show David Cullinane as topping the poll. We're going to cross live now to our WLR News and Current Affairs team on the Cork Road at SETU, and I'm joined now by Kieran Foley, who is also joined by former Waterford councillor Cha O'Neill. And Kieran, a bit of a lull in the last 2 hours or so. Is there any indication as to when we will see the results from the first count?
We're still waiting for a declaration in relation to the first count, Kyle. But as you mentioned, the tallies have given us a clearer picture. And my colleague Damien Tiernan just spoke with Fine Gael Senator John Cummins, who of course looks very likely to take a seat here in this 4-seat constituency. And John spoke about the strength of the Fine Gael party locally, the unity which has been shown, and clear delight amongst all in Fine Gael that it looks likely that they will regain that seat, which of course they lost in 2020. Damien also spoke with current Green Party TD Mark O'Cahasig, and of course the picture isn't as bright there. As we've seen, there has been a huge drop in the vote for the Green Party nationally. Mark O'Cahasig acknowledged it was a difficult day for his party and they have not performed well. So as you mentioned, Kyle, I'm now joined by a long-serving independent councillor on Waterford Council for many years, Cha O'Neill, who has a great insight into what's happening here today. And Cha, what do you make of the figures which we've been seeing all morning and afternoon?
Well, over the last couple of hours, looking at the figures, I mean, it's looking guaranteed now that David will top the poll, followed by John Cummins and then Mary Butler. Now, looking at it here, as far as transfers are concerned, I'm saying it all along that Mary Roach's vote would be essential to the transfers. But between herself, Mark O'Cahasig and Steve O'Neill, there's about 6,000 first preferences there have to be transferred. All right. So taking into account that if the tally, looking at it, is around 10,500, David would have about 1,300 spare. Personally, I thought young McGuinness would do a lot better in his first preference. He's at 5.5, they're just on 6,000. So even his transfers, I can't see him bringing them up that amount.
Because Conor McGuinness is currently on 10.8%, which is 5,727. Matt Shanahan is 9.9%, which is 5,218. So really close as it is there. But as you mentioned then, when the transfers come in, perhaps Conor McGuinness with a stronger first preference vote would have been in a healthier position.
I think so, no. And I was actually looking at this a couple of weeks ago. And taking into account the last general election, I knew David was never going to get the vote he got last time out. And I was kind of putting it down that if he got around 13,500 and young McGuinness got about 6,000 or 6,500, and the surplus then that he'd have, if the quota was 10,500, that David could possibly bring in Conor McGuinness. Now, I'm not saying he's out of the race yet, but personally looking at Mark O'Cahasig, Labour and Mary Roach, there's 5,800 first preference votes there. I think they could swing. Now, even taking into account, really, Mary was the councillor and she co-opted Matt, you know. And as I said, then Matt co-opted Mary back
so
onto the
there is that connection there as well. And in voters' minds, you know, that is something that would have been to the forefront of their minds.
The one thing I didn't get a chance of looking at is how many of those 2,500 votes did Mary get from the Dunmore area? You know, the Dunmore Road.
Again, the geography is going to come into play also.
Because, as I said, you know, when it comes down to something like this, it's personalities come into play or your friends come into play. That's the way I always look at it, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Cha, for that insight, and certainly all to play for. So, Kyle, we'll have further...
Just before I go, look, I just want to congratulate. I know it's a bit ahead of time, but I spent time on the council with John over the last number of years, John Cummins, David Cullinane when he was there, and Mary Butler. Now, as far as I'm concerned, they're there for the benefit of Waterford people, and they will do well for Waterford people. But I think there's a right opportunity here now, and I'm calling it. There's an opportunity here going forward that if, with John and Mary, which they're over the line, there's an opportunity here that we might get 2 junior ministers or a full minister. And you know, realistically, looking at that, if you look at John Cummins, he's either bringing back Fine Gael from the brink. Now, if I was him going forward, I'd be ringing Simon Harris in the morning saying, hey, I want something out of this. I'm either bringing back your seat, I'm either increasing your vote. And realistically, you have to pay me back. And the same with Mary Butler, she's a junior minister, so I can't see any danger she not getting a junior minister's post. So that alone will be a help to the city, because we need a minister and we need it all. We need to have someone at the top table before we get at it.
So it's certainly all up for grabs. John Neal, thanks very much for those
Thanks a lot,
wise
Kieran.
words. So for the moment, Kyle, it's back to you in studio.
Thanks to Kieran. The three main parties are neck and neck according to the first tally results from across the country. The first counts have started to come in from across the whole island. Our political correspondent, Sean Defoe, reports.
After first full tallies, we can call about 136 of the seats one way or the other. Of that number, there's nothing to separate the three largest parties. By our calculation, Fianna Fáil have 36, Sinn Fein 35 and Fine Gael 34. There are around 38 seats still to play for, which could go in any direction on transfers. It's likely to be a long and dramatic count over the weekend as a result. Some of the big names still in trouble are the Health Minister Stephen Donnelly in Wicklow and Green Party leader Rodrigo Gorman in Dublin West. Dublin Fingal West was the first constituency to declare a first count, with no TD deemed elected, and Sinn Féin's Louise O'Reilly topping the poll.
And finally, in other news, Russian and Syrian warplanes appear to be carrying out airstrikes on Aleppo after opposition fighters driven out in 2016 claimed to have captured half of the city. It was a surprise offensive which happened quickly and is seen as the biggest challenge to President Bashar al-Assad in years. Iran's condemned it and called the rebels aggression. Dr. Haid Hagid, an expert in the Middle East, gives his analysis.
What we have seen in the past 24 to 48 hours that regime forces as well as allies have been mobilizing themselves in order to go and then fight back. And I think the upcoming few days will really give us a better sense of how secure the regime is.
Waterford Sport with Otto Boland Alfa Romeo. Test drive the Alfa Romeo Junior. Learn to love again.
For WLR Sport, I'm Kieran Walsh. A very good evening. Heartbreak for Kilrossenty in the Munster Junior Club Hurler Championship. They took on Russell Rovers of Cork in Porkyreen earlier. The Waterford side were unsuccessful in this outing with the score of Rovers 3-12, Kilrossenty 1-7. Kilrossenty selector Maurice D says despite the score, his team gave it their all.
Yeah, look, Kevin, they were the better team on the day, I suppose. Look, probably with early wides, maybe that's just set us back a little bit in the first half. Look, you can't, what you said, lads inside, they gave everything. They gave 110%.
Staying with local GA now, and Medeligo have also been unsuccessful in their attempt to move on in the All-Ireland Championship. They took on Knocknana of Wicklow in Enniscorthy earlier today. The full-time score there was Knocknana 116, Medeligo 1-6. In staying with GA next, Ballygunner bid to become the first ever club to win 4 consecutive Munster Senior Club Hurley Championships tomorrow. They take on Sarsfields of Cork in the final at Semple Stadium, having won their last 11 provincial outings. Forward Desi Hutchinson says these are the games you want to be involved in.
That's why you play, and we often say these are the best days we can have, I suppose. In the middle of November, December, playing with your best friends, it doesn't get better than that.
WR will bring you the game live this Sunday thanks to George Corbett Skoda. Over to rugby next, and Munster will hope to return to winning ways this evening when they meet the Lions in the United Rugby Championship. It's the first game without Graham Rowntree, who recently departed the club. Action gets underway at 7:35 with Waterford's Jack O'Donoghue among those to be involved. He was delighted to see the coaches Dennis Leamy and Mike Prendergast signing new contracts earlier this week.
It's never easy when there's changes within the coaching group, getting used to new systems and stuff like that, and to be able to try keep some continuity is really important leading into next season and next 2 years. And I'm absolutely delighted that the two lads have signed on, and to be able to work with them, it is great.
Elsewhere in rugby, it is just full time in the International Rugby Union match between Ireland and Australia. Ireland defeating Australia by 3 points, a score there of 22-19. And finally, over to Premier League action next. Several games got underway at 3 o'clock today. We'll go through the scores now. It was Brentford and Leicester City. It was 4-1 to Brentford there. Crystal Palace and Newcastle United drew 1-1. Nottingham Forest beat Ipswich Town 1-0. And Wolves lost to Bournemouth with the scores 4-2. The later game then this evening is 5:30 between West Ham United and Arsenal, and we will have an update for you on that one at 6 o'clock. Sports news on WLR is with thanks to Otto Boland. For all your Waterford general election news this weekend, keep up to date on air and on WLRFM.com.
WLR weather.
Thanks to Grant. From condensing oil and HVO biofuel boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, you can trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.ie.
Yeah, that persistent rain is gradually going to turn more showery this evening and tonight. Mild enough tonight, 11 degrees the low, and then sunshine and showers tomorrow, Sunday. A bit of a fresh breeze by the late afternoon into evening to accompany that. High tide times, Dungarvan, Youghal and Ardmore fully in again this evening, 5:05. We're in a bit now, says you. Tremor and Dunmarise, 5:10. Cheek Point, 5:20. And within the yard, 5 to 6 on the quay in the city.
High tides for Waterford. Live from the Waterford Town Centre, this is WLR, your election station.
Welcome back to this Daisha Today special from 4 to 6 o'clock. We may well be moving into the later hours as well, but our news team, Dimpna, Jordan, Kyle, Kieran, they will be giving updates if and when they happen as they go. Dimpna will be doing some television as well, and so will Jordan. And they're looking forward to that now as well. They're laughing here at me behind the scenes. Thanks to Dean, thanks to Keane for all the work they're doing. Thanks to Jennifer for producing, and everybody back at base as well, helping out make this day so special. We're now going to talk to Conor McGuinness. I'm not going to make the joke about the couch, because he said to me about the couch outside, so he's embarrassed me already, you know. Conor McGuinness, Sinn Fein, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. If I'd known it was so easy to embarrass you, Damien, I'd have done it long ago.
I'm really only a big, soft, cuddly toy. That's all I am. Like little...
Here's your brother.
That's the little polar bear. Our little polar bear there, that is Kevin the polar bear. On the tallies, you are tallying at the minute. Again, big provisos with this, big health warnings. 10.8%, 5,727. Your thoughts on the tallies first?
Yeah, so tallies always have to be taken with a pinch of salt. That's the nature of them. They're an estimate collected by volunteers as boxes are opening. So they have to be taken with a pinch of salt. But very, very positive for Sinn Féin, very positive from where I'm sitting as well. David has clearly performed very, very strongly. Our vote management, our strategy has worked very well. And I have polled very, very well according to the tallies, particularly in the west of the county and in the mid-county. Topping the poll in the Dungarvan, again, pinch of salt, the big proviso that nothing is counted yet, and doing very, very well in the Lismore LEA in particular.
Tremor is an area that I identified, and others did as well, as potentially the winning and losing of this election for the likes of yourself. You have had Donegal and others working assiduously for you in certain parts of the west. Your Dungarvan vote, I suppose you know what it is, but Tremor is an area that, you know, nobody really knows what goes on in Tremor. It's one of those places, you know. David went in, and David, from the strategic point of view, kind of took Tremor and then made sure was trying to encourage party members or people voting for Sinn Féin to give you a number 2. Is that correct?
Yes, so that's the strategy. We've been very clear that we've divided Waterford for the purposes of campaigning. We've divided into 2 parts. The 3 metropolitan districts, local electoral areas, that Waterford City South, Waterford City East and Tremor Waterford City West is where David was asking, and Sinn Féin was very clearly asking that people would vote number 1 for David and vote number 2 for myself. And then in the Lismore, Comra and Dungarvan local electoral areas, we were very clearly asking people to vote for me number 1 and to transfer number 2 to David.
I was talking to senior Sinn Féin figures last few weeks, and I was sort of suggesting you would need probably 6,000, maybe 6,500 first preferences to be in with a shout for that last seat. Do you think you'll get that?
Yeah, so the tallies have us up on 5,700 or something like that for me in terms of first preferences. So we're in with a good shout. It'll all be played out as we see the counts probably tonight and perhaps into tomorrow morning. So we'll see, and nobody can make any real prediction with any degree of certainty at this stage. One thing about the electorate is they're very discerning. You can't second guess intentions and patterns. They change from election to election, but we're confident that we got a very, very strong first preference for David in the metropolitan area and a very, very strong first preference for myself in the county.
And then obviously the strategy is that David would get so many thousand or whatever the case may be over the quota possibly around 10,700, and then that surplus would transfer back to you and keep you ahead of the likes of Matt Shanahan.
Yeah, that's how we hope it plays out. We saw from, I suppose, anecdotally looking at the tallies today, we mightn't have been recording it on paper, but we saw very, very disciplined and strong transfer from David to me and vice versa. We've seen that in the local elections. We've seen that in previous general election counts as well. And we saw it in the exit poll from RT last night, where there's a very, very strong, and the strongest, in fact, transfer of votes from Sinn Féin to Sinn Féin of any party. So we don't see that necessarily from other parties so strongly, but in terms of Sinn Féin we've seen that. And of course we're the only party that had the confidence, I suppose, to run two candidates here in Waterford.
When the first count results come out in the next half an hour or so, and we may have lost a little bit of our signal online just in case anybody's having problems with that, when the first count results come out, how much more ahead of Matt Shanahan would you like to be? Would 500 be enough of a buffer?
It's a good question. That's where it seems to be in the tally now. So hopefully the official result of the count will reflect, I suppose, the trends we see in the tally. And look, I think everybody has known, it's been remarked on by pretty much everybody who sat on Peter the Couch today, that
Peter
that there's
Couch, there's no
Peter.
doubt.
No, I'm calling him Peter the Couch. I'm starting a new trend here live on WLR FM. You heard it here first. No, we've seen that trend throughout the tallies. And we know that there's about 14 boxes that haven't fully been worked into those, but we imagine the trend will stay fairly constant. So maybe all candidates will go up numerically a little, but the trends should stay about the same. So if we're keeping that kind of distance between myself and the next nearest candidate, that's a good thing. But ultimately, it'll be based on where David's surplus goes. And we're confident that a good chunk of that will come to me. People were really responding during the campaign to our message of electing two Sinn Féin TDs for Waterford.
Again, our signal is back now online. If anybody wants to access that again, if they have come out of that, just recharge it up again, reconnect, relink into it. There's no problem whatsoever. How are you? How's Pia, your wife, and how are the children? Just remind our listeners and our viewers about the family.
Pia and I have 3 kids. Our eldest daughter, Raeltine, is 4. She'll be 5 in January. We have a 2-year-old Maeve, and we have a little baby boy who'll be 6 months this week coming, Liam. So they're all good.
3 young children. 3 children under the age of 4.
Yeah, under the age of 5. We have
Wow.
a 4-year-old. Yeah. It's, do you know what? It's anybody who has young kids knows the challenge and the joy of it as well. So it's been fantastic. And look, we've run a very comprehensive campaign without...
At a personal level, again,
Yeah.
I know it's too early yet, but to thank her, because you were obviously out nearly every night. Like, it's phenomenal, but you wouldn't be able to do it without her support.
Oh, absolutely. And look, Pia, as I said, has been a fantastic support. Without kind of, I suppose, the stability that she brings, the support, the patience, if I'm being honest, and the love, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And I think that's the same for all politicians. Without their partners or their families, who play a huge amount and pick up the slack sometimes when things get very intense, be that a campaign or at an intense period, we'll say when we're negotiating budgets in the council, when people are negotiating programmes for government, all those kind of things where we're talking about late nights and hard work. Without our families and our partners, I mean, I don't think any person in politics, any activist will be able to perform to the extent that they do.
Okay, I'm going to let you go back down to the count centre. At the minute, you're quietly confident.
Yeah, well, quietly confident. Yeah, hopeful now that that the trends that we've seen in the tally stay up, that they materialise when we get the official count. But looking good for 2 seats and hopefully getting a TD in the Dungarvan area, locally based, for the first time in about 10 years.
It really worked for you, if it does work for you?
Well, do you know, I've been criticised for this, and obviously any TD elected by the people of Waterford stands for all the people of Waterford. And that's clear from everybody, I've said that. But it is a glaring omission when out of 4 TDs, none of them are located west of kind of Kilmacthomas. It's, I think it's something that really resonated with people.
You know your history very well. Was there ever a Sinn Féin TD in Dungarvan? Was there one in 1920?
So Cathal Brua, who was the first Minister of Defence of the Republic and Chief of Staff of the IRA, was a Teachta Dála for County Waterford, was a constituency, and he had an office a door down from where our constituency office in Dungarvan is. And his wife, Kathleen Brua, took that seat for Sinn Féin and held the seat until 1926.
But since 1926, there hasn't been a Sinn Fein TD in Dungarvan.
Based in
from
Dungarvan, no.
Dungarvan. No.
Unfortunately, there hasn't been a Sinn Féin TD in Waterford City or County until David Cullinan was elected in 2016, some 90 years later.
So, and that's now, it'll be 98 years now if you get elected tonight or tomorrow morning.
Yep, fingers crossed.
The very best of luck. Conor McGuinness, thank you very much. Back with us in a few minutes.
Is there anything better than a fresh Waterford Blah covered in butter and stuffed to the brim with the tastiest of crisps? That's right, nothing better. Well, thanks to the Big Breakfast Blah on WLR and Walsh's Bakehouse, your office, shop or community group could win hashtag Blah Friday and have this mouth-watering treat delivered straight to your door on the last Friday of the month.
To nominate your workplace, text or WhatsApp your details to 083 333 975 and tell us why your workplace deserves the Big Breakfast Blah giveaway. Blahs, butter, crisps, nice.
Don't miss out on this tasty tradition with the Big Breakfast Blah, all thanks to Walsh's Bakehouse in Ireland's hashtag #1 local station of the year, WLR.
Buying things online is super handy. A few clicks and it's done. But it can leave us open to fraudsters and scam artists. And they can pack a serious sting. The Fraud Smart Scam Checker is an easy way to check whether the site you're using is legit. It's a free website that's easy to use. Use it before you purchase anything online and avoid getting stung. Don't get stung online. Visit the Fraud Smart Scam Checker at scamchecker.ie.
You better watch out, cause we're going to shout. Shout about Morris's great Christmas prices. 50% off selected Christmas lights and decorations. Christmas trees at Morris's from €85. Morris's have slayed prices on Christmas gifts, from Snickers workwear to regatta jackets. There's so much more at Morris's. Open 7 days. Morris's Cork Road, a wonderland of great gift ideas and ho-ho prices.
Morris's. Supply it. Waterford City Ford is your official Ford dealer for Waterford City and County. Huge Black Friday commercial sales event running from November 25th to 30th. Get €3,000 off the Ford Transit and €1,000 off the Ford Transit Courier. Also available are 3-year 160,000 kilometre warranty offers and unbeatable low APR rates. Get a move on. Call into the showroom on the Cork Road. Call the team on 051 304 300 or visit waterfordcityford.ie to find out more.
Pandora's Black Friday promotion is here. Save up to 30%. Get an early start on your holiday. It won't be around for long. Stores and online at pandora.net while stocks last. Terms and exclusions apply.
Hello, my name's Enda Walsh and I'm a dairy farmer from Ormore, County Galway. In Ireland, we're always looking for a better cow. A cow that's healthier, happier and long-lived. A cow that gives us more milk of a higher quality with specific health benefits. A cow that has a lower carbon footprint. We're finding that better cow through our world-leading breeding programs based on years of science and research. I'm speaking on behalf of the National Dairy Council, everyone's dairy.
Live from the Waterford Count Centre, this is WLR, your election station.
Welcome back to this special live day show today at our Count Centre at the SETU College Road campus. We have had lots of interviews so far, lots more coming up. We are awaiting the first count, and it looks like the first count will be at around 6:30. We will bring that to you live on WLR, on the radio, and also on our various different Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn platforms, and especially on WLRFM.com. So if you want to go to that, please do. Now, a good friend of ours, a good friend of the station and the broadcast centre, is none other than Mary O'Neill, who is in the Carlow Kilkenny Count Centre. Mary, good afternoon, good evening.
Hi, Damien. Can you hear me all right there?
We can hear you loud and clear, thanks, and we can see you smiling there, and you're looking very happy to be in Kilkenny.
Yeah.
How are you getting on there?
Grand. I'm smiling for now. Because we might not have anyone elected at that stage.
On Tuesday.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
Yeah.
A lot of people, we've listeners as well interested in Carlow Kilkenny. It is a 5-seater. What are the tallies showing at the minute in terms of Carlow Kilkenny, please, Mary?
Yes, so when I was speaking to Kieran Foley several hours ago, we were only about 40% tallied, and the picture was very different then. We now have a complete tally. So I suppose that gives us a good indication of first preference votes, but obviously maybe, not necessarily an indication of how the constituency is ultimately going to shape up. But at the moment, no big surprise. John McGuinness, who's a real stalwart of this constituency, is now in the lead on 14%, 9,000 first preference votes in the final tally. And then close after that, well, a couple of percentage points after that, we've got Jennifer Murnane O'Connor, also Fianna Fáil. She's on 11%. And Peter Chapclear, another Fianna Fáiler, on 10%. So the first three people to come out on top in the final tally are all Fianna Fáil, which is incredibly interesting. And then after that, you've got Catherine Callaghan. She is based in Carlow. She's Fine Gael. She was just pipped to the post in the local elections in June, and she's doing very well here, it would seem, judging by the final tally. She's on 9.7%. And then after that, we've got Anya Gladney Knox, also Carlow based, and her dad was also a politician, but she's on 9.4% as well, which is very strong for the final tally. And again, what's very interesting about Anya and also her running mate for Sinn Fein, Natasha Newsom-Drennan, is that they both went in the local elections and only got a few hundred votes each. So it goes to show, and it's often said, there's no huge correlation between the local and the general elections because both of them are in strong contention for a seat. Some sad news, if it comes to pass, for Malcolm Noonan of the Greens. He's looking very likely to lose his seat at some stage over this weekend. He's in the city. He's very, very popular in the city. He was first elected as a TD in 2020, but he's been a councillor for a long time. And I suppose, again, very well liked local politician, but the Greens are not having a good day. So it's more probably about what's happening to the Green Party in general around the country in terms of Malcolm. But very interesting. I would say at this stage, we won't have someone elected in the first count. The quota is in and around 10,500, could rise to 11,000. John McGuinness is likely to be the first elected, but not likely to be elected at this point on the first count, which we're expecting at around 7 o'clock. So we're in for a long
weekend, not only
a long weekend.
I've been up there a few times in the past, and it has a certain dynamic in Carlow Kilkenny, certainly, and the transfers go all over the place because you have, like in Waterford, the politics of geography versus the politics of, I suppose, party. Peter Chapclear, and again, Kilkenny and Carlow is a strange place because Peter Chapclear, he's big into the hurling, and basically he's trying to get elected onto the hurling, and he's a great lad for the hurling, and that's what it is. But he obviously has his Fianna Fáil party politics. And then John McGuinness is like alternative Fianna Fáil. He's like sort of your radical continuity Fianna Fáil. And then you obviously have Kathleen Function, who's gone. So is there a possibility, can I ask you this, Mary, on what you're hearing, is there a possibility that Sinn Fein will not get a seat in Carlow Kilkenny?
I think there is a possibility because, as you said, the transfers could be very, very strong for Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael here. I mean, if you look at the likes of Malcolm Noonan, Sean O'Harrigan of Labour as well in the city, they're unlikely to win seats, but very likely that they will be transfer friendly in terms of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. Now, I would look, I mean, it's early days, but I would say Sinn Féin might take one seat.
Yes.
But prior to this general election, the speculation in the weeks ahead of the election was that they wouldn't, because their two candidates didn't fare very well in the local election. So I would say they're probably doing better than what people might have expected, given the results of the local election. And obviously, poll topper Kathleen Function gone to Europe, and it left a vacant seat there with people who weren't nearly as high profile as her. But there was a big drive in Carlow to vote Carlow. And as you mentioned, the geographical politics there, Damien, I think that has probably helped, actually, because a lot of Carlow candidates may be coming out stronger than people expected, and that would include the two Sinn Féin candidates. To answer your question again, there's every possibility Sinn Féin won't get a seat. I would say they might squeeze in one. It might be the battle for the last seat, but it's all to play for still. It's very early days. We're only at tally stage.
Yes. So Mary O'Neill, then I'll stick your neck out for us now. 2 Fianna Fáil, 2 Fine Gael, and 1 Sinn Féin. Is that what you're saying?
I think I probably would. I mean,
you're not saying 3 Fianna Fáil, are you?
Well, there's a lot of people saying 3 Fianna Fáil, that Chapclear might be in the battle for the last seat. I would say maybe 2 Fianna Fáil, 2 Fine Gael maybe and a Sinn Fein, but you can come back to me over the weekend and I might have been entirely wrong.
I'll let Jordan and Dymphna do that. They'll be here all weekend.
Yeah. Grand.
Mary, thanks very much. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate
Dave.
it. God bless. Thank you very much.
No
Thank you very
bother
much.
at all.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. That's Mary O'Neill there with the very latest from Carlow Kilkenny. Stay with us. We're going to be talking to a man who knows a lot about elections in Waterford, particularly, I suppose, in terms of the Fianna Fáil machinations next.
Hi, Jeff Harris here. Join me.
Now, welcome back to this Deisha Today special here at our special broadcast centre outside broadcast unit at the SETU Hall. And we are upstairs. We have Eamon Quinlan, Councillor Eamon Quinlan, one of the leading Fianna Fáil members of Waterford Council, in studio to talk to us for the next little while. Eamon, how are you?
I'm good, Damien.
A little bit tired, are you?
A little bit tired.
You were out last night. Hello to everybody that was out with Eamon last night.
Well, you know, it's a good group, but I was here for 9. Now I was here to do my duty in the morning. So I did all the tallies. I think I did about 5 boxes. I got Ballygunner, I got the Gael Skull and Tramore, I got Ballymacarbery, I got Bunman, I got Knockanore. So it was actually a nice sweep right across the county and city to see the dynamics that were emerging.
Yeah, you've studied a lot of local elections and national elections. You know how the tallies work very well. There were a little bit of questions about the tallies at the end of the day, as Roy Keane would say, coming into, we'd say, the last hour and a half. We're expecting first count around 6:30. What's your feeling firstly on the tallies?
Any good tally is always slightly off. I suppose there would have been changes in how the ballot papers were being produced there towards the end. They were shaking it up to try and speed it up there at one stage. So there would have been a number of votes that would be getting missed, say for me and then the person next to me, and you accumulate all that. So you would expect the first count when it comes in to see a bump pretty much for everyone across the board. It depends how much of a bump that's going to be. But I suppose the tally, and I suppose the feeling we would have from the tally, it's not that this race has emerged that there's going to be 4 or 5 candidates fighting it out for a couple of seats. There's a dynamic that's become quite clear, and that will still be borne out even if the tally slightly changes, which is that David Cullinane, Mary Butler and John Cummins are all either at the quota, slightly below or slightly over. So that's those 3 pretty much locked in. There's no way to kind of remove those 3. And then you're going to have essentially a Matt Shanahan, Conor McGuinness battle, as you might say, for that last seat. I suppose my read of the dynamic that's come clear is David Cullinane will have a surplus. That surplus will have to be distributed after the first count. The surplus will be obviously respectable. As a politician, you always love to have a surplus, but it's not going to be a runaway surplus. I would expect Conor McGuinness to do very well from that surplus. However, the question then becomes, at that stage, freeze things, who's behind Matt and who's behind Conor McGuinness. And at that stage, you're looking at a lot of what I might call East County or City and Tramore candidates whose bases and votes are from that area. So as I was tallying, I was noticing that Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Fein were dominating West Waterford and rural Waterford. The issue that's going to have there essentially is that western vote is now locked in with Conor McGuinness, locked in with Mary Butler and locked in with John Cummins. It's not going to come back into play. So you're looking at Mary Roach, and when I was doing Ballygunner, she was having a healthy vote on the Dunmore Road. That was borne out with other people who were doing the Dunmore Road. You're looking at the Green Party, who in the local elections just gone transferred very poorly to Sinn Fein. So I think Matt Shanahan would be very much hopeful that as the people behind both him and Conor McGuinness are eliminated, that Eastern County vote, who didn't initially vote Sinn Fein, will gravitate far more to him than to Conor McGuinness, because, and that's something we saw in the locals again. If you're a Sinn Fein voter, you're voting Sinn Fein, and then if you're voting for any of the other parties, they tend not to transfer to any large degree back into Sinn Fein. Had Sinn Fein been able to control their vote a bit more, which is extremely difficult, and I must say what they've done today in Waterford constituency was very impressive. But if I was noticing leakage from the Sinn Fein county voter to David Cullinane first, and the problem is what you would have wanted was about 1,000 of those ones in the county to switch from David to Conor, and then Conor would have been very difficult to catch. Very difficult to catch.
So, cutting to the chase in what you're saying there, you're saying that you're favouring Matt Shanahan at the minute.
At the minute, what's going to happen is for the next while, you'll see votes pushing up Councillor Conor McGuinness's vote, because what will happen is that surplus from David. So it really depends on the length of the lead. If he the length of the lead that he'll build. I know there's talk downstairs that with the revision now they think Matt might actually go ahead of Conor. But the issue is that I would expect Conor to go ahead of Matt when that surplus is distributed, because Sinn Fein generally have a strong 1-2 going on the surplus, and then it becomes, if it's not a huge lead, I would have to put my money on from what we're seeing right across the country and in the local stats.
What do you mean by a huge lead? A number of people have mentioned, and your colleague in the party, Jason Murphy, mentioned 500 votes, first preferences. What should we be looking out for when this first preference result is announced? Should we be looking at Conor McGuinness being potentially 500 votes ahead of Matt Shanahan? If he's not, is Conor McGuinness in trouble?
If he's not more than 500 votes ahead of Matt Shanahan, he can credibly be caught by Matt Shanahan. You're talking Mary Roach of the Social Democrats when she goes out, and again she's got a very respectable vote, but behind her there's simply not enough people and transfers that could propel her ahead of either Conor or Matt. So realistically I would have to say that the Green Party, the Social Democrats Party, as they go out, they do have sizable votes. You're probably talking about, I think the Greens are on over 1,000 votes. In the locals, their voters did not transfer into Sinn Fein, and those votes will migrate. Not to 100%, that doesn't happen, but 20, 30%. I'd have to say that Matt is feeling good. So, for instance, another one of the independent councillors who I spoke to on the way up the stairs here was saying that they were watching Mary Roach's vote, because, again, there's that duality that she had the seat in the council, then to him, then back to her, and they saw maybe a transfer rate of 1 to 2 from Mary to Matt of maybe 40%. Which would be enough if it's borne out.
Yeah, and there are variables that we had Mary Roach up on this couch a while ago talking about. You really don't know transfers sometimes, particularly where it comes to, let's say, a left-wing vote or soft left vote. You could talk about the Social Democrats. You'd expect that potentially to go to